What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Early Edge. A very happy Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed your President's Day. We've got a lot of college basketball, a lot of soccer, a lot of hockey to talk about. But before we do that, first of all, hello there in the chat. Hit the like button if you would. I see Spaghetti and Meatballs in there. Chris Kish, Bradley Jacobs, Big Cheesy's in there. Moshi's in there. Eric David. Love to see everybody in there. Walter Rogers is in here. Love the conversation. Love the picks that are already being talked about. Speaking of picks, let's take a look at the recap screen before we bring in the stars of the show. Well, two of these picks are the same, so it looks like 2-7, but it's 2-6. No thanks to the Daytona 500 car crash at the very end of the race. That certainly did not help, and that's really a result of a lot of these X's here. My Houston play almost got there. 24 seconds left. I actually thought Iowa State was going to foul and get us the cover, but they just played straight up, no foul with 24 seconds left, down 8. We lose that one, but Griffin Carroll comes through with a couple of hockey plays. So listen, we're going to try to do better today. We can't be going 2-6 on our picks. That's not what we're here for. We're here to entertain a little bit, but we're here primarily to hit some picks. So let's do that with the stars of the show. We're bringing Griffin Carroll back, and we've got Tom Casale back here, who has been red hot. And we got Zack Cimini, my second favorite Zach behind Zach Morris. And of course, I got to say hello right off the bat. Buckets, how you doing, sir?
Sia, I got to know, if he's your second favorite Zach, am I your favorite John? Second favorite John? Where do I fall on your tier list there?
You're kind of putting me on the spot here, but I'm going to go 9 or 10, John. I'm going to go 9 or 10. I've got a list, actually, for my favorite Toms, my favorite Griffins. And Griffin, I'm using first and last. So Brian Griffin comes first, and then Griffin Carroll comes second. Go ahead, Buckets.
Name one John off the top of your head that's better than me, Sia. Just one.
Stamos, that's, you don't know who that is, but that's for all the Full House fans in the chat. If you loved Full House, you go ahead and hit the like button. I'm going to cut it out. All right, with that said, Buckets, listen, I said hi to you first. First of all, I got to go to Tom, because Tom, with the UNC and UNLV jerseys behind you, listen, I don't expect you to always stay red hot. I really don't. Nobody in the chat expects it, but I got to say, we are really enjoying the initial set of picks you've come out here for, and we're only a few weeks away from conference championships, maybe less actually, and of course, March Madness. How you feeling today, sir?
I feel good. You know, like you said, I'm not going to go 2-0 every day, but it's nice to get off to a hot start on my first couple of shows.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Speaking of hot starts, Griffin Carroll, 2-0 yesterday. You kind of saved the team. We had a few too many X's out there. How you feeling today about today's picks?
I'm feeling good. Definitely been a nice little stretch here. Absolutely miracle McDavid cash for anyone who joined me on that. I'm sitting here, and I had said I liked Edmonton to score 5, and here I am sitting. I was sitting right here. They had 5 goals. McDavid had 1 point. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then he miracle empty net assists with a minute left to get that six goal and second point. So that was very exciting.
Eric David saying, Buckets, Full House is more than simply a poker hand. Well, we got to ask the question, does Buckets know what a full house is in poker? Before we get to your official picks, and I want to say hi to Zach real quick. Do you know what a full house is, Buckets, in poker?
Oh, Sia, I promise you, without a doubt, that out of all 5 of us on the show right now, I am the best Texas Hold'em player. So, of course, I know what a full house is.
I truly can't believe you just said that. World Series of Poker main event, Casher, right here, 2018. Don't worry about it. All right, we'll have to have a SportsLine poker tournament. All right, Bucks, I want to get to your official pick. Zach, I got to ask you real quick. First of all, how you doing, and what do we have today? We got college basketball?
I'm doing good, Sia, and yeah, we've got another college basketball play. I actually have a marquee game, which I tend not to gravitate towards, but I'm feeling you on the sweats in college basketball right now. Yesterday, I had 2 Southland Conference games. Both went to overtime, but I felt fortunate to split those games.
Love it. I like celebrating the good wins along with the bad losses. There's bad beats and there's good beats. So Griffin and Zach bringing that up. All right, Buckets, let's get back on track with some soccer. Let's get right into our official bets. You've got, it looks like, one soccer play which involves an over, which you know I always love. Go ahead.
Absolutely. See, I had a tough day yesterday, but when tough people have tough days, they bounce back. And when we bounce back, we're not betting on the Portuguese Primera. I'm not betting on the English Championship. We're staying away from the Azerbaijani Premier League. We are going to the king of all soccer tournaments here. We are going to the Champions League. The champions! That is right. PSV hosting Borussia Dortmund. Netherlands versus Germany in an absolute banger of a round of 16 first round clash. I'm only looking at one way to bet this match, and it is a same game parlay here. I'm on both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at -110. PSV Eindhoven is the best Dutch team offensively, and it's not even close. 22 games played this season, 70 goals scored domestically. Meanwhile, Dortmund are finally finding some form now that I've stopped betting on them, because this is a team that in their last 11 matches across all competitions have not lost. Daniel Malen, you've got Nicholas Fulkrug. PSV has Guus Till and Luc de Jong. These are two teams with stacked offenses. I love 3 goals at least in this game, and both teams to score hitting as well, Sia.
Wow, that sounded like a lot of goals. I'm totally into that because I got to be honest, Buckets. I like the high scoring games. I don't like the defense. I can take defense in football and in baseball. I can take pitchers duels in soccer. I want some goals, and that's what you're giving us. So thank you very much. All right.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes, indeed. All right. Let's before we go to Zach's pick, because Zach, I want to go right to you with your featured game. I've got less of a featured game in the same conference, but before I do that, I do want to remind everybody not only that Buckets is the best poker player in the SportsLine universe, but also that new BetMGM customers can sign up today and get $150 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $5, and you'll receive $150 instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your wager's outcome, with bonus code EDGE150. That's EDGE150. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get to Zach's pick. I've got a college basketball pick. I'm trying to bounce back, no pun intended, from that very narrow loss with Houston versus Iowa State. And then we've got even more college basketball coming from Tom Casale. So we are loaded. Before we get there, let's hear a message from our partners.
The Scudetto, where the soul of Italy meets the pinnacle of calcio. Catch Serie A on CBS Sports Network and streaming live on Paramount+.
Well, Zach, I see in the chat there's some people who there's some opinions on this Yukon Craton game. J.R. Hunt says Craton money line. That's interesting. He just wants to do away with the points. Kelly Collins says, is the -2.5 Yukon a trap? What am I missing? Well, Zach, what is Kelly missing?
I think it's just going to be a good game. So from a value standpoint, you want to take the underdog at home in Craton. It's up to 3.5 now. So I'm going to say plus 3.5 on Creighton's side. You look at UConn, they're coming off a phenomenal game against Marquette, now the unanimous #1 team in the country. That got the spotlight on them. Everyone's now talking about them being the repeat champion, but you still have Big East Conference play left to go. In this Creighton team, you look at the first matchup, they scored a conference low 48 points. They are going to shoot much better on their home floor this time around, where their only loss at home this season was by 2 points in overtime to Villanova. You look on the UConn side of that win, they scored just 62 points. That's their second fewest points they've scored this season, outside of the loss to Seton Hall, where they scored 60 points. They shot just 35%. Big man Ryan Kohlbrenner had an impact on the game. He had 5 blocks, and Coach McDermott has had success over Coach Hurley since UConn rejoined the Big East. Creighton has won 5 of the 7 matchups, and UConn has never won at Creighton going back to 2020. So I like Creighton in this spot. Some people may want to take it on the money line. I'm going to take the points plus the 3.5.
Yeah, this one, I got to be honest, Zach, I was very nervous about, because I think from a spot standpoint, this makes sense for Creighton. I bet UConn against Marquette on Saturday, and I fear them. So for me, I'm staying away, but I definitely think you're on the right side here. And I think a lot of people in the chat sort of understand the spot that Creighton is in. And Tom, before you give out your 2 picks, I'm not asking you to give out even a lean on this play. You can if you want to, but this is one of those where I think people look at the line, Tom, and they're just very curious about it because they know how good UConn has been. They understand that Creighton's a good team as well, certainly at home. Just when you looked at this line, and I know you tend to take sort of the lower tier games because that's where the markets are softer, but did you have a lean or maybe just an assessment of this game one way or the other?
Yeah, it's interesting. Last year, I had Creighton 100-1 to win it all, and
Wow.
in my opinion, I thought they were the only team that could have given UConn a run because they're familiar with them and they play tight, lower scoring games with them. So Creighton is used to playing UConn; they're used to being physical with them. Yeah, I expect another lower scoring game. I expect it to be a close game. So listen, UConn's coming off a huge win on Saturday. Now they're going on the road. If you can get that 3.5, I lean the Blue Jays.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the 3.5 is big there. Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to add that too on UConn's struggles at Creighton. Even last year's loss, that was the lowest points they scored, 53 points.
Wow, 53. All right. Can't wait for that game. Listen, Yukon's such a great team. Craton's starting to turn up the volume a little bit. All right, Tom, let's get to your actual official plays. You got 2 plays here in college basketball. What you got?
Yeah, I'm going to start off in the MAC with Central Michigan. It's weird. In late February, you're not getting the same value in college basketball lines that you were in November and December when everyone's still betting on football. But there's always a couple of teams where, for whatever reason, the market is slow to adjust to. Central Michigan's one of those teams. Ken Palm doesn't like them. Odds makers don't like them. Well, I like them. They're 7-1 in their last 8 games. The only loss was at Akron, who's number 1 in the MAC. This has been the surprise team in the conference. Now they're just a slight favorite over Bowling Green. Bowling Green 2-5 in their last 7 games, lost to a really bad Eastern Michigan team the last time out. These 2 teams played a few weeks ago, went in a double overtime. Central Michigan won. I expect another tight game here, but the line's too low for me. I like Central Michigan on the money line or even on the spread. I make this more closer to -4, so I think there's value with the Chippewas. In my second game, I'm going to BYU, Baylor. Listen, these 2 teams played. BYU lost by 9. In that game, Baylor, they shot 14 more free throws. BYU really struggled from 3. On the road here, Baylor does tend to shoot a lot of foul shots, but I don't think they're going to get as many on the road at BYU. Plus, BYU shoots a ton of threes, and they struggled against Baylor last time. Baylor's 10th in the conference at defending the perimeter. They really struggle there. I like this spot for the Cougars. On Saturday, they had a really bad performance. They lost to Oklahoma State. I really like taking good teams coming home off a poor performance. So I got the early line -3. I think this is a great spot to back BYU.
All right, great spot to bet BYU. Great spot to bet Central Michigan money line. Thank you, Tom Casale. There were some questions in the chat, or at least I think Bradley and Chris were putting out some picks. I think Japan also put out, was it Wyoming plus 14.5? Interesting play there. We got some team totals in the chat. And we need a Freya update, says Baba. Buckets, can we get the Freya update?
Yeah, I want to say a couple things here real quick, Sia. First and foremost, Freya is as good as she can be, all things considered. Obviously, a dog having a seizure is a very scary thing. But when it was all said and done, the vet said that it was due to overstimulation of a new environment. What they thought it was that we had really bad snow here, so all the roads were salted, that when I took her on a walk, she was just licking salts up as much as she could, and that caused some kind of something or other in her system. But I do want to say thank you for asking about Freya. She's doing great. Specifically unrelated, Chris Kish and Bradley Jacobs in the chat. I'm not someone who backs a lot of people in general, but those are 2 soccer guys that I find myself tailing. They are a big part of the Early Edge family, but also just tremendous people and cappers as well.
Yeah, I think everybody in the chat kind of recognizes that, Buckets, because almost every day people are asking them about their picks. They're putting their picks out there. And even when they lose, people are in the chat. And it's rare, by the way. Even when they lose, people are in the chat saying, hey, like, what's the pick today? Just like you, Buckets, when you lose one, you get right back up and you throw out 1 or 2 more picks that you really love. So shout out to the chat. They're not the only ones that put out picks. I just mentioned Japan. Adam Frey looks like he's got a pick on Inter plus or Inter under 4.5. I'm not exactly sure what that -110 means, Adam, but we got a lot of, go ahead, Buckets.
That's a great look. He's talking about the Champions League match between Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid. That's probably a same game parlay of Inter money line and under 4.5 goals. I stayed away from that game because I don't think we'll see a lot of goals in that match. So that under 4.5 is a great way to get that juice down.
All right. Thank you for interpreting it looked like hieroglyphics over there. I wasn't sure cuneiform. I wasn't sure how to interpret that. Throw in the money line there so people like myself can understand the bet, but absolutely love you putting it out there. Speaking of bets, I've got a college basketball bet. I'm trying to bounce back, of course. And then Griffin's he's going to try to go 2-0 again. He's got a couple of hockey plays. Before we get there, let's hear one more message from our partners.
Out there are 2 colossal beings, both forces of nature in their own regard. But in here, as soon as the chute bursts open, the duality of man and beast begins to fade. This is the PBR on CBS Sports Network.
I love this comment from Steve Lochner. He says, it's crazy how the brand brings everyone together. People seem to genuinely care about each other and helping each other in any way that they can. Gotta love it! ! I love that. And I think it's true. And I think everybody in the chat understands that that's true. So Steve, thanks for pointing it out. Again, this is not just a show about picks. We just gave the Frey update. We're trying to get people in the chat involved, trying to get them better at making picks if that's what they want to do. So, Steve, I really appreciate the acknowledgement there. All right, let me try to bounce back. I'm kind of mad about the Houston play yesterday. It's not that I thought I should have covered, but I thought I had that one, and I was going to go with the first half bet, which either would have pushed or won, depending. I mentioned it in the take yesterday. It would have won at 4.5. If you got it there at 5, it would have pushed. But anyway, we're going to bounce back with a team. This is a scary bet because I'm taking Butler plus 6.5 in the Big East on the road against Villanova. And Villanova, as of late, not only are they playing well, but they're kind of blowing out teams at home. The thing is I just don't think Villanova is that good. Some of the teams they've blown out haven't been very good, but Villanova is stuck with some really good teams as well, like Yukon, for example, just a couple of weeks ago. I can say the same about Butler, though. Now, Butler played Craton at home on Saturday. They got absolutely worked. They hung with Craton in the first half. That was Butler at home again. I thought Butler was going to cover the 3.5 points that they were getting. I thought they had a chance to outright win that game. They played a good first half, and they just couldn't find the bottom of the bucket in the second half. I mean, they were just abysmal from three-point land. And sometimes that's how this goes. For example, when they played Craton the time before, they were red hot there was 2 weeks prior to Saturday. They were red hot from three-point land. So you're just going to get that variance from three-pointers, sometimes from free throws, things of that nature, like Houston, bad free throw shooting team, 75% from the free throw line yesterday. Couldn't hit a three. With all that said, I'm taking Butler because I just think this is way too many points. Villanova, I don't think now Villanova has to win. They got to get into the tournament, but I just don't think they're good enough to justify being 6.5 point favorites in spite of being pretty hot lately. As far as Butler, they've lost some games, but they've lost some games to a really good team. I just mentioned Craton. I've mentioned Yukon. They lost to Yukon as well. They played them relatively tight. So again, I think this game is a little tighter than people expect. Butler's been pretty good on the road against good teams. I just mentioned how they played Craton on the road a couple of weeks ago. They actually won that game in overtime, or in regulation, I think 99-98. So again, 6.5 points, way too many in my opinion. I'm going to take Butler plus 6.5 against a hot Villanova team. All right, that's my NCAA college hoops pick. We've just given out, four college hoops picks. We talked about some picks in the chat. Now we transition to the NHL. And Griffin Carroll, you've got 2 picks for us today. What you got?
Yeah, 2 picks. So number 1, I am going with Rickard Rakell of Pittsburgh, over 2.5 shots on goal at even money. I played Rakell on Sunday. He was plus 140 then. He finished with 5 shots. So the price is obviously coming down, but I'm going to hope that this is a wave that's about to build, and I'm going to just ride it out. The reason I bet him on Sunday was the elevated role he now has. Jake Gensel is on IR, who is the Penguins shot leader. Rakell has taken his spot on the top line and the top power play. And clearly by Sunday, those 5 shots, he's taken on a lot of the Gensel shot responsibilities as well. I love Pittsburgh for shots here. Islanders are allowing about 33 on the road, the same number Penguins are averaging as a team. And just Rakell without Gensel. The last 4 times Gensel's been out, Rakell has finished with 5, 8, 2, and 5. And I'm just asking for 3 today at even money. So love this price. Second play, I was seeing some people talk about it. I don't hate the over in this game, but I'm going to go with just Colorado over 3.5 goals at minus 108. I don't know if anyone saw that crazy Vancouver, Minnesota game yesterday. We got a football score, 10-7 for the Wild. And a big reason why the Canucks are letting up so many goals is they are really struggling handing out penalties or committing penalties. And then that problem's compounded by not being able to stop a team when they're handing out these power play chances. So I'm definitely liking the Avs here to find a power play goal or 2, more the merrier. They're averaging 4.3 goals per game at home the last 45 days. They've scored 4+ in 2 straight against Vancouver. And Thatcher Demko's in net, who's been very solid this year, but he has struggled against Colorado, allowing 4.2 goals per game in 5 starts. So I don't hate the over like I mentioned, but I'm just going to go with Colorado here to hit 4.
By the way, first of all, love those. Love the plays there. Bergbets is in the chat. Wanted to point that out. He's got some leans. Zach, let me go to you. And Tom, I just want to go to you real quick just to see if you don't have an opinion on this game, that's totally fair. But we've got Texas Tech at home. It's -5, -5.5 in some places at home against TCU. Zach, I'm going to start with you. Any opinion on that game whatsoever? If you didn't look at it, just say I didn't look at it, and we can move on.
No, I haven't looked at that one yet.
Fair enough. Tom, any opinion on Texas Tech -5 or -5.5 at home again against TCU?
Yeah, I like the spot for Texas Tech. I don't like the number, though. 5.5's a little much here. TCU can really turn teams over. I think this is going to be a close, competitive game. So if this was more around 3, I would have looked at Texas Tech, but I can't get to 5.5 in this game.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so it's too big of a number. There was one other question I wanted. Oh, it was Buckets. Buckets, you said you liked Texas Tech. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm a big Texas Tech guy in college basketball, right? That's what we're talking about still.
Yes, that is in fact what we're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, give me the 5.5. I'm fine with that.
I absolutely love it. All right, it sounds like it's a pseudo showdown between Buckets and Tom Casale. Big Cheesy says NC State, Texas Tech money line parlay. Very interesting there. All right. Love the picks in the chat. There was a question from somebody that I wanted to get to, and I can't find it anymore. And that's because you all are so active in the chat. By the way, Phil Bobbitt is in the chat as well. Of course, that's Speedway Steve from yesterday's show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hit the recap screen. Buckets, PSV, Dortmund, both teams to score plus over 2.5 at -110. I've got Butler plus 6.5 on the road against Villanova at -110. Zack Cimini, Craton plus 3.5 against Yukon at -115. Tom Casale, Central Michigan money line -122, and BYU -3 at -105. And Griffin Carroll's got Raquel over 2.5 shots on goal, and the Avalanche team total over 3.5. Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to remind you, most of you know, we've got the early wedge tonight at 7 o'clock. It's me, it's EC, and of course, it's Patrick McDonald from CBS. That's going to be our best bets, some DFS conversation, some of our favorite DFS plays and fades in that game, in that show as well. Again, that's tonight at 7 p.m. It's the Mexico Open at Vedanta. It's not a star-studded affair. There really are very few big stars other than guys like Tony Finau, but that doesn't make the tournament any less interesting to bet. So I want you to keep that in mind. Actually, it makes it more interesting for me to bet when you don't have the Scotty Schefflers of the world. So don't forget, Inside the Lines at 1 o'clock, and we've got the early wedge at 7 o'clock. And by the way, on SportsLine, you can get Mike McClure's simulations as well to supplement the early wedge and to supplement the articles that me and EC and Patrick McDonald put out on sportsline.com. And the reason I mentioned Mike McClure is because he hit Hideki Matsuyama at 90-1, a 90-1 outright that he hit. All you had to do was be a member of SportsLine to take that outright. He only gave 2 outrights out, I believe, and one of them was the Hideki one at 90-1. Ladies and gentlemen, what a show. Really appreciate everybody in the chat. Buckets 2024, somebody says. Philip Conti says, great show. Taylor DeHart says, Griot train. No, I don't think I'm going to be on Griot, but stay tuned to the early wedge and you'll find out exactly who all of us are on. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great show. On behalf of Tom Casale, let's hope he stays red hot. Griffin Carroll, let's hope he stays red hot. And of course, on behalf of me and Buckets and Zack Cimini, this is the early wedge. I am the counselor, and we rest our case.